Okay, before we begin planning our cups, I want to talk a little bit about clay shrinkage. So what I have here is a shrink ruler. Our clay actually shrinks about 13%, so it's in between 14 and 12. And what this shows you is that at 1 foot, this is 1 foot with a ruler, but the clay would need to be out to here in order to be 1 foot after it was fired. So if you want something to be 4 inches, you need to make it that big prior to firing. So why do I tell you this? Because when you make your cup, it's going to shrink. So this cup was made from this pattern here. And so you can see that it does shrink somewhat, about 13%. So you need to make your cups a little bit bigger. And I'm going to be going through options for making your own paper patterns. So I'm not going to be giving you a paper pattern. If you were in class, I would give you one to test out, and then you would make your own. But you're going to be making your own, and you're going to have to make it a little bit bigger in order for it to be the size you want it after you fired it. Okay, what I have here is a cup that I'm going to cut apart as a guide. Now remember, we just talked about shrinking. And so I'm going to cut the bottom out of this and open it up. And you can do this with any cup. I don't think styrofoam will work, but you can do it with your Starbucks cup. You can save it. So now I'm going to open up this cup and lay it down. Now I think this cup is too small to use just how it is, but I'll show you how we're going to make it just a little bit bigger. So I'm going to take this cup and trace it. And this is nice to get the angle. And then when I cut it out, I'm going to cut it just a little bit bigger on either side. About 1 inch. So what we're doing right now is creating patterns to make our cups from. So I've traced a cup that I laid open so that I could have the arch, and then I made it just a little bit bigger. And that looks like that cup there is similar to cups that we've used in the past. It's a little narrower. So it'll end up being just a little shorter. No, about the same height. It'll end up being just a little narrower. So you're going to have to come up with your own pattern. This is a pattern that I've included. And this pattern actually will turn out like a cup like this, but then it'll have the darts in there. So it'll be a square cup, and I'll demo that one. So you can play around with that pattern, and in order to see what it looks like, you could tape it together. You also could use it like this, but then it closes off a little too much. So I'll talk about different patterns. If you want just a straight up and down cup, you can take your paper, your 8.5 by 11 inch printer paper. Make it the height you think you want it. Now that's going to be a pretty big mug. So pretty tall, pretty big mug. But you certainly can make one that big if you want to. And then if you want to make it narrower, you can tape it together, or you can just cut it right along the overlap. And now I have my pattern that I can use. And here's a cup that I made just from a straight pattern to see what do I want it to look like and what do I want my design to look like. And then here's another cup that I made shorter. So these two are straight up and down. just different heights and different widths. So come up with a pattern that you would like, and then spend some time drawing onto the surface what you think you want to put on there. What sort of designs you want on there. You don't have to stick with it, but again, you're just thinking about it. We're going to talk about slab work next, and we're going to talk about stamping things into it. So you may not end up doing this design at all, but maybe I want to find something to stamp that design into it. And then we'll be talking about handles. And yes, even though I call it a cup, you do have to have a handle. We tend to refer to cups with handles as mugs, but I call them cups, so that's my bad. So you are making a cup with a handle. And next up, we'll talk about the clay and how to lay your pattern piece onto the clay and cut it out and texturize it.